Yo, 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 yo. What is good? What is good? What is good, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I be. Good Doc, Dr. Mike TV, back at it like a crack addict. With probably one of the greatest moments in history. Okay? I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like this moment is probably going to live in infamy. This is going to be one of the moments that we are going to trek back to back in the day and see, you know what? Listen to what she said. This is what us guys or us men are going to revert back to whenever people start getting on your nerves and shit, whenever your significant other start getting on your nerves and stuff. We're going to be like, listen to what she said. Hear her out. She said something that you can benefit from. Okay? If you want this relationship to work, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to listen to her. Okay? So, Jeannie Mai. She is engaged to or about to be married to fellow African American brethren, Young Jeezy, Atlanta-based rapper. Y'all know the story, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all. She was talking to her co-host on, I want to say, The Real, something like that. One of them shows. I don't watch any of them, but she was talking to one of her co-hosts on the Real about the idea of being submissive because I think it was the president's elected or appointed person to take over Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court. I think her religious beliefs had something to do with the idea of being submissive to her husband, and then that became the topic of conversation. So Jeannie Mai, who I love, who after this moment I could honestly say I fucks with her for real. But here's what she did. Her parents are Vietnamese and Chinese. Just want to let you know that. Asian, nonetheless. Okay, so here's what happened. She posed the question, right? Y'all seen the video. She let everybody else answer before it came back to her. You noticed that, right? So whoever was in this corner, I think that was Grace Bouvet, and then Adrian something another, and then of course you know who was in the top left, who was above her. We know who that is. Everybody said their piece about, well, it should be a 50-50 thing and this, that, and the other. Everybody had their own opinions. And then here comes Jeannie Mai. She's like, well, I agree that a woman should be submissive to her man and let her man lead in a relationship. Point one. She says, look, I'm a boss in my own world, man. I run shit. I do my own thing. When I'm at home, I don't want to have to do that. I want to let my husband do that. I want to let my significant other do that. Point two. They tried to give her hell for that. They were mad about it. Big shout out to my brother O'Shea Duke Jackson. He covered it. Kevin Samuels did a whole damn live stream on it. Guys, they covered it in depth. But for me, I want to talk about it from the foreigner standpoint and why some guys still opt to date outside of their own race. Especially when you have women who are openly willing to say, look, man, I'm willing to submit. And again, submission has absolutely nothing to do with praising and, it has nothing to do with the thought process that it creates. All right. It has absolutely nothing to do with the thought that you get when you hear submission. Like, oh, you're a slave to your husband. You're a slave to your significant other and this, that, and the other. It's just you willing to let the man lead. These women are just not willing to let their man lead the relationship. And as a result, they end up dating the quote unquote beta males and stuff like that. But as you think about it, Jeannie Mai, she's been in the U.S. She's grown up in the U.S. And the perspective that I really want to cover on this one is the fact that she would be what we would like to call the Westernized Asian young lady. We always have this thought in our head, myself included, man, when they become westernized, they pick up on a lot of the bad habits that people in the West come up with. They pick up all of the negative habits and they're no longer desirable. They're no longer this because they remind you of a lot of things that you're trying to escape from. No matter what race it is, just the Western world in general, you try to escape that. And the mentality that these women carry. Now, I'm not saying that she's not without her own ways, but what I am saying is that she was very open to the idea that, yes, she may be strong in her opinions about certain things, but I'm going to let my man lead. And it really pissed off a lot of people, man. It pissed off more people than you would ever imagine. I ain't submitting to this. I ain't submitting to that. I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. You're either going to be sad and lonely, or you're going to be dating somebody who's beta as fuck. That's pretty much their only option. And in hearing the story and hearing the way she described it and hearing her words and seeing how beautiful it played out, because you see the looks on their faces like, is she really saying this? Is she really going against what we say on the show? I thought we were all a cohesive unit, this, that, and the other. Yeah, she really said it. And she stood her ground. That was the beautiful part. She stood her ground. She ain't break. She didn't fold under the pressures of what everybody else was saying. Oh, well, I believe this. Oh, I believe that. Oh, women have come so far to be going back to the time when they were submissive to men and all that stuff. You hear about it. Ladies, I never want you to sit there and let these women dictate to you the way that they try to. Don't ever let what their thoughts about being submissive to your man fool you. We as foreigners dating Filipinas, and I just want to say this out loud, this is a problem we absolutely very rarely go through. Not saying that you're not going to have that one or two that might give you hell and back, but you should know how to get rid of them. But in hindsight, guys, I'm going to sit there and be honest with you. We very rarely go through problems with a woman trying to run the relationship too. Very rare do you have somebody that comes in and tries to run a relationship. If you've been with her for a long enough time, regardless of how much money she makes, she's willing to still let you lead. Now, the bigger question will be, and I will say this because this has always been a topic of conversation, if she makes more money than you, will you still be able to lead? That is definitely a topic of conversation that, you may be 50-50 on. Yeah, maybe my girl's a nurse in the United States. She's clearing 6 figures or something like that, and she's making bank. Maybe I'm clearing 80,000 a year or whatever, and I'm still doing very well in my career, but my young lady makes more money than me. Is she still going to respect me? She's still going to let me lead, this, that, and the other? Those may be questions that may be asked. I'm not going to say that, when those particular situations arise, that there may or may not be some issues that may come up. I doubt it if you really are content and you really have your relationship down pat and you really put in the work to get her mindset molded to how things need to be in the relationship and she's comfortable with letting you lead no matter how much money she makes. Once you get to that point, and you can do that. Let's not sugarcoat it. You can do that. If you know what you're doing, you can do that. You'll be good. Shouldn't be too much of an issue nor a problem. And no matter how much money she makes, maybe she starts out at a lower salary than you. Next thing you know, you turn around a year or so down the line, she's over here clocking, making some serious bank. That's what you want your woman to do. Shit, I want my girl to make more money than me so I can sit around and do and practice and partake in my hobbies that I choose to do. I want to be able to do that. And I'm not saying that's what's happening between Jeannie Mai and Young Jeezy, but I'm just saying in hindsight, thinking about it, you hear this Asian, she is Asian American, I guess. But even though both of her parents are Vietnamese and Chinese, so they're both from Asian descent, we'll say Asian American, even though she did grow up in America, even though she did grow up probably, and that's interesting. We don't know too much about her background and growing up unless you research on it. Maybe her traditional structure in her family life was her mother letting her father lead and things like that. So that's what she grew up with. And that's exactly how she feels a relationship needs to be. That makes sense.